Hi, welcome back to Fieros Reborn, the channel where all your dreams will be shattered and found to be illusions of the mind. Hi, welcome back to me and my channel and the series of Fieros' story time, which is what we're doing here, which is, hello Sonic. Hello Sonic, how are you? Alright? Love Sonic. Sonic looks like he's a metaphor. Sonic looks like he is basically a representative of higher consciousness. He is so clear and bright, and he seems to radiate this kind of spiritual presence that looks so much brighter and clearer than my actual face or anything in the room. Actually, it seems to be the look at that. It just stands out from everything else in the whole room as this little beacon of consciousness. But you won't be able to see him for most of the time because the cap bit will be in the way. But he is there, the invisible presence of Sonic. So, hello, welcome to this video. We're going to carry on the story from wherever I decide, whenever I decide it, basically. I don't know why I'm doing these videos anymore. They have absolutely no financial value to me at all. They have very little emotional value to me also. But there is a sense that I need to do them. I need to complete this journey. It's like I've come so far now through the telling of the story. I just need to kind of finish it. Yeah. So, where do we get to? Well, oh God, I feel like we're still a little bit stuck. We haven't quite fully touched base into America. Like we were talking about me and Mrs. C, how I would take her up to this like little special place that I had by the motorway, and we would I think we only went there once actually. I actually took my dad there as well just to show him this nature thing, and all he could do was criticize the fact that it was loud near the motorway. So he didn't care about the fact that it was an area of natural beauty and that it was quiet and peaceful if you were to listen to the quiet and peacefulness. So the guy's just a fucking dick, basically. He just rejected all potential openings into a world beyond pain, I suppose. He was just wanted to be elsewhere and outside of himself at all times. So, but me and Mrs. C appreciated spending a bit of time there. I think we had a little picnic, or we just lay around and chatted and stuff. So that was nice. So then we talked about the MP3 player, the little red MP3 player, and I was sorting through putting my CDs onto it, which was an incredibly difficult task. That stupid Zen creative MP3 player thing, which was just like, oh God, the interface could not be more difficult and annoying to use. I think I did take it with me in the end, or I may well have just said, fuck this, I can't be bothered with it. I'm not even sure. I remember I took the A New Earth book with me, by Eckhart Tolle. Load of clothes, yeah. And I can't remember how I got to the airport, honestly. Someone must have dropped me there. To Heathrow or Luton, maybe Luton. Might have been Luton, and it might have been a friend of mine, or it might have been my mum. But I feel like it was a friend of mine. Random occurrence, or maybe that was an occurrence where I picked someone up from Luton. It was very random that I picked someone up from Luton. That was a completely different time period. I don't know how I got to the airport. As of this moment, I'm not aware of how I got onto the plane. I don't even remember getting onto the plane actually. To get to America, I don't remember it. I don't remember being in. I don't remember being in an English airport before I got to America. I remember arriving in America. I have a specific memory of going to the passport control and customs declaration thing, and them asking asking me if what was my intention. Sorry, they were asking me what was my intention to in America to do in America, and I said nothing. I had nothing, no plan, other than to be, and I suppose that means sit around, really, sit around and be there. And they kind of looked at me like, seems a bit dodgy, but fine if you're not planning to work, or I felt like it was a miracle that they let me in at all. To be fair, so I got in. I couldn't believe my luck. I thought I was going to get kicked out of the gates and sent home, or go through some kind of, I don't know. I thought I'd be found out. Basically, I thought that it wasn't acceptable. Yeah, for me to just go there and to do nothing, because let's remember our whole world is set up around doing, isn't it? So if your primary interest is not in doing, your primary interest is in experiencing life as it is, and not necessarily doing in like as your forefront of your experience, then I think people don't understand it. I don't understand it, and I do it, or I be it. Being is my primary mode, and doing emerges from being. Um, and I don't understand it. So it's very hard to explain to other people what I do, because I fundamentally feel like I don't do anything, even though I'm obviously sat here, doing a video. I will upload the video, so, and then I will talk to my friends, and I will also draw pieces of artwork, and I will also make pieces of music and do performances of music, and I will also write books. But fundamentally, I don't feel like I'm doing anything, because all of those things arise as a natural impulse from how I feel, I suppose. So the reason I'm doing the video now is just an expression of I feel like this. I feel like doing this. But yeah, I don't plan anything really. I have a list of goals, so I am working towards certain things, but I make progress towards them in a very haphazard kind of way. I really am not particularly religious about anything I do. I'm like, yeah, I'll do a bit on it. I'll do a bit more. I did a hell of a massive load of artworks recently. Completed a hell of a load of artworks, and now I'm just like, yeah, I need a break from that, so I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm really not like militant about much. I get militant for a small period of time, and then I just go, and then I come back to it, and I'm militant again. It's kind of a process of renewal, basically. It's rest and then activity, and then rest and activity, rest and activity. Today, and for the past 4 days, I designated these out as doing fuck all days, basically. I watched a load of YouTube videos, mainly around the topic of the Sega versus Nintendo conflict in the 90s, or late 80s and 90s, between like the NES, the Master System, and the SNES, the SNES, and the Genesis. And then, yeah, mainly focused around those, and like old retro gamings, and watching these videos of kids and teens reacting to old retro stuff. That's great. I love them like working how to use a VCR machine. It's amazing. And like, I think it's so cool. I would have thought that these kids would love it, because it's like so. They're all a bit like a toy, aren't they? They're like very chunky VCRs. You got this big physical object, and you have to shove it in this hole. It's very sexual. You have to put things in stuff and move things around, and press buttons and pull levers to get anything to work from before the 2000s spirit. Basically, you have to sort of twist all kinds of strange knobs in different areas in order to make anything happen in technology, from the previous generation, which is great. I love it. Oh, yeah, and so many things can go wrong with technology from bygone days. Stick your cassette in, and you put your cassette in your audio, whatever you call it, Walkman, or your like ghetto blaster, put your cassette in your ghetto blaster, and you like play it for 5 minutes, and then disaster of disasters, for whatever reason, the tape has decided to eat itself and turn itself into spaghetti, and, like, and the tape's just going like that, all in a mess, and it's just like, and it's ruined. It just decided to ruin itself, and then you put another tape in, and it ruins that one as well. And what you realise is your fucking machine has decided to eat every cassette that you put in there. So yeah, those are the days, eh? So many potential mishaps. Yeah. So I've been kind of like real retro focus in terms of gaming. I bought the SNES Classic Mini thing on eBay. Hopefully it wasn't a scam, because I got it for way cheaper than all the rest of them. So I was like, oh, I hope that this isn't just some kind of crazy scam. But yeah, hopefully that will come this week, or if not next week. I don't know how long it will take for them to dispatch it. But yeah, that would be good. Playing, because I never had an SNES, a SNES. I never had a SNES. I always had a Mega Drive. And back in those days, you had to go to different people's houses to play the different systems, which I think is kind of amazing. Like, a matey round there had the Master System, right? No one else had the Master System. He had the Master System. A matey over there had the, what did he have? I think he had a SNES as well, but he was a bit, you couldn't always go and see him because I don't know what his situation was, but his like family was weird or something. And then there was the guy all the way down there. He had the SNES, so you could go to his house and play the SNES. And then like we had the Mega Drive, but everyone seemed to have the fucking Mega Drive. But we had to kind of go to different people's houses. So we wanted to play the Master System, we go around there. If we wanted to play the SNES, we go to like any one of these other different people who had the SNES. And yeah, and different people had different games and stuff. So it was kind of like you go there. Like, say I went to this friend who was 2 doors down there, and he had loads of different games that we didn't have. So you'd go there to play the games that he had on the Mega Drive, Genesis, and it was just fun. Oh, who else had the NES? That's why we'd go all the way down to the like sort of end of the road to the kid who had the NES, the first one, the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES. So we'd go to him to play that because he was the only one who had that one. So yeah, it was like going to different places, and it was wicked. And then we went round to that matey when it became the N64. He was the only person who had the N64 out of the people we knew anyway. So yeah, there was a community of like all the kids in the local area, or all our friends anyway in the local area, would be able to go around and to different people's houses and play the different consoles, which was really cool. And of course now everyone is dead. They're not actually dead, but I feel a sense of lack of community, and I feel that everywhere actually. I don't feel that I feel like I've been excluded from communities somehow. That something has changed and now I don't feel like I have a sense of community around me. Yeah. And I don't have a positive thing to counteract that at the moment, actually. I'm trying to work my way into London. I've like been going to London a bit more, and I want to get involved in a sense of community there. Yeah, and I suppose that the last time I went to London was slightly better than the time before. I guess. I don't know. It's the early days at the moment. Yeah. Oh, okay. When I went to Bournemouth, there was a real sense of community there. That was good. I liked the sense of community there because I would go and see anyone. I would meet like 12, 15, 30 people I knew as soon as I went to this one particular place, because I got to know a load of people, and then it was like always someone I knew there. So, woo, that was good. But now I go places, I go like, there are people I know here, but I don't want to know them because they're not friendly, and they're annoying, and they're invasive, and they're all about social status, and they're just judgmental and blah. So yeah, this is not where the story was supposed to be going. Let's go back to America, shall we? Let's whoop ourselves back in the story to America. Well, I got into the country. I had booked a few different hostels. I think it was 4. There was Jazz on the City, Jazz on the Park, Jazz on Lennox, and then I booked a 4th one, which I don't know whether it was a jazz hostel or not, but it was in Brooklyn. Yeah, Brooklyn, which was fucking miles away. So I'd booked 4 in advance, yeah? Because you could only have a maximum of, like, what was it, 14 days in any hostel, like consecutively, something like that at the time. So when I got, like, yeah, so was that what it was? Don't know. Oh man. Let's go through it. Let's go through it. So the first one I got to was Jazz on the Park, or Jazz on the City, or Jazz on the City, Jazz on the City. Feels like Jazz on City. So I got there, and one of the first things that happened was I randomly bumped into a couple of traveling bookselling hobos, which was really strange. There were a couple, so it was a guy and a girl, a man and a lady, a man and a woman, a male and a female, a bloke and a bird. Yeah, it was a jackdaw and a crucifix. Yeah, and the bloke was wearing a hat, similar to mine, but without the cool Sonic on top, and beard, slightly scummy looking clothes. I don't remember what the bird looked like. I feel like she had dyed pink hair though. Maybe a bit scaggy looking, which means sort of malnourished and dirty. So they were sleeping in the park. Hyde Park, not Hyde Park. What's the big park in there? Central Park. They were sleeping in Central Park, and they were carrying around this big fuckload of books on this like trolley thing, and they were selling books basically for drug money. Yeah, it was bizarre, and I got involved in walking along with them. Uh, I think they wanted me to buy a book to begin with, and I was like, nah. But I decided to just follow them, and the adventure had begun. Basically, yeah. So those were the days where, like, I was literally just I was gonna follow any little adventuresome impulse thing. So there was no reason to go with them. It was not going to help me or help them really, but I was just going to flow with every little stupid idea that came into my head. So these people were like walking along, trying to sell books, and I was just tagging along as well. Follow the flow of the randomness. So I followed the flow of the randomness. Oh my god, I don't think I've ever told anyone this actually. This thing, but this happened. Yeah, the book selling weirdos, like, I guess I must have got on the subway thing. The subway thing was weird. I didn't quite understand how the ticketing worked to begin with. I got used to it. No. The first thing that happened, actually, sorry, the random adventure began even before the book selling weirdos. Okay, so I got off the plane, got through customs, and I had to get on a train because I landed at JFK International Airport. I remember the details. JFK International Airport, yeah. And oh my god, yeah, I remember it. Big train thing, rails, but they were like in the sky, rails in the sky, man. they're not like, they weren't tracks on the ground. They were like raised, basically. It was a raised track, a bit like a monorail kind of thing. Maybe it was a monorail. It was the train that got you out of the airport and into the city, um, or to the next station where you could get into the city. So yeah, it was like a monorail type thing. Oh God. And I got on the train. Was it that one? Maybe it was that one or the subway afterwards, where I met this girl who was reading the Tao Te Ching, Tao Te Ching, Tao Te Ching, which is a little Chinese book of wisdom written by an ancient sage called Lao Tzu or Lao Tse, depending on which book version you pick up of it. And she was reading this book, and I was like, oh. And I also had that book in my bag, you see, so I was like pretty temptatious with this whole thing. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. Like, oh, the synchronicity of that, like I'm also reading it. And the first person who I see is a woman, girl, lady, female, human being, bird, person who is reading the same book. And I was like, oh, no way, man, that's so cool. And so I chatted to her for a bit, and turned out she worked at Foyle's bookstore. And I remembered her name, right? And she must have told me like where, in what department she worked, because later on I went to see her, which was really weird because by that point I was wearing the bright yellow Ngala tribe dress. I think. She was like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, but so that was really, really weird and really, really cool. So I met this lady, girl, woman, female. I have issues. On the train, and like, oh man, you're reading the same book. That's so cool. It's like, this is the destiny, destiny, and that was it. And got off the train, and then I must have met the old traveling book selling hobo tramp people. And then the reason I left them and didn't continue like hanging out with them for very long was because they started having an argument about something or other between themselves to do with drugs. I think it's to do with drugs anyway. But yeah, they were telling me that they slept in the park. The hobos tended to sleep in the park. I met a few other people who said that they spent their nights in the park, Central Park. Yeah. So yeah, and then I got to jazz on the well, it must be Jazz on the Park then, really, because it's right next to the Central Park. It was literally like down the road from Central Park. Um, as in, you could see Central Park's like one of the perimeters of Central Park just from about 30 meters away, 50 meters away, 700,000 meters away. I don't know. It was you could see it over there. Okay, so I got into there, and they had this reception desk, which I remember very vividly. Reception desk, and they had the people at the desk, and there was someone on a little computer at the desk, and then to the left of the desk you would go through this door, and that would be into the dormitory area. But around the desk there was like seating and yeah, like little stools, and there was a floor as well. It wasn't just suspended in midair, believe it or not. Yeah, there was a TV. I believe there was a TV anyway. And then there was this like stair bit where you could go down to this other room, which they had like different events on in that room, and one of the events was a regular one, which was comedy night, like on Tuesday or something. Probably yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday was comedy night, or Tuesday. Definitely not a different day. So I believe I watched the first comedy night, and then I performed on the second one. Yeah, and it did not go well. Oh dear. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, I made a comment because there was this is my first time in America. I'd never seen a black squirrel before. There are such things as black squirrels, if you did not know. They're very dark, browny black. I don't even know what they're called. Black squirrel. I'd never seen one before in my whole life. The black squirrel occurs as a melanistic subgroup of the eastern grey squirrel and the fox squirrel. Rogue American black squirrel. Yeah, so they live in the US, these black squirrels, right? And I made this ridiculously inappropriate joke, racist joke, really, that now that I'd come to where I don't know where I was, but I was like, oh man, yeah, now I'm in this area. It's like everything's black, man. Like there's so many black people. Even the squirrels are black. For fuck's sake. I don't know what's wrong with me. Why I said that. I thought it was a good joke, but it wasn't a good joke. No one, like everyone, just like looked at me and like in stunned silence, basically. And I think someone shouted out racist, and I was like, oh god, I don't know what I was doing. So that was silly. Then that didn't go well. No one laughed. No one laughed pretty much at anything I fucking said that whole time. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible gig. Terrible gig. I just seem to remember like people, that sound of people coughing, and just dead silence. Like, and they were looking at me like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you here? What is wrong with you, person?" Yeah. Oh man. So I did that, which is a ridiculous travesty of a disaster. Um. Hmm. All right, and then what other things happened there? Okay, so I went out to met a group of people there, and we went out to do some sightseeing together. They went up the United States of America building, whatever you call that, the Empire State Building. Sorry, they went up the Empire State Building, but we were on the train before that, the subway, and one of the guys was quite big and tall and broad, yeah, and I was like, "Hey, big guy, how's it going?" And he's like, "Don't call me that." I was like, "Oh man, why are you so sensitive?" It wasn't an insult. I didn't even mean it as a compliment. It was just like, "Hey, big guy," Yeah, it wasn't even necessarily referring to his size. It was like big guy, as in like how you might speak to your buddy, big guy. Come on, big guy, let's go, man. Whatever. Or I don't know. He took offense to it, and I was like, "Oh man, these people! What is wrong with you people? Can't do anything right here." So yeah. So these guys are all dicks. Of course, everyone else in my life is always a dick, according to me, because I have to be right and everyone else has to be wrong. That's the only way I feel like I can get a sense of meaning in my life. Yeah. So fine. So they went up the United States of America building, Empire State Building, and I don't think I had the money, nor did I really fancy it, to be honest. I wasn't really there. I wasn't really there in America for sightseeing. I was there to have the adventure of randomness, which I did have. So I don't know what I did, whether I just waited around outside or something, and I don't think they ever came back. Yeah, that sucked. Or it took them fucking ages to come back or something. Um, yeah, which was shit. And I remember feeling like these bastards have abandoned me. And then they did show up, eventually, I think. So they don't ever call a big guy, apparently. Certainly not in America. And don't talk about black squirrels in a racist way, because it won't go down well in a New York City hostel open mic comedy night. Boom. Cry. Okay, what else? Oh yeah. So so there was this guy who was a ginger guy, a little bit of a beard on him. Didn't really look similar to me. He had curly ginger hair, and just a completely different face type to mine. He was Australian, I believe, and he wanted to go into a bar and watch the rugby. Um, yeah, and he said something like, "Oh, he didn't have ID," and I don't know why. Why did he not have fucking ID? But he asked me if he could use my passport, and I was like, I ummed and ahed for like half an hour, and then he asked me again. I was like, oh fuck, okay, but you fucking bring it back, and you do not let it out of your sight, and you hold on to that for the whole fucking time, and you bring it back straight away. Like, I want it back. And yeah, I was so like terrified that my mum and dad would find out, like, that this guy had nicked my passport and hadn't brought it back. But he did bring it back. So there, bumholes, I made an educated decision, but that could have gone horribly wrong. Yeah. I also gave. Did I give some guy my driving license at one point as well? Fuck. Oh man. I certainly lost a phone that way, but that was to pay for a cab because I didn't actually have the money uh, to pay for the cab. This was much later in the trip. I didn't have the money to pay for the cab, and I somehow thought that the universe would provide me uh, to like kind of get away with it. I suppose that maybe the guy would just randomly decide at the last minute to let me off, but he didn't. He made me give him my driver's license and my phone as a kind of collateral, and eventually somehow I got my driving license back from him. I don't think I got the phone off him, but yeah, that was messed up. What an adventure! Oh my god, I can't believe I'm still alive. It's a fucking miracle that I'm still alive and I'm here and I'm not in jail somewhere. I haven't been killed. Now I understand a little bit like why my parents were a bit worried about me going away to America, because I was obviously going on this random mission. It is amazing that I'm alive. To be fair, the amount of stupid shit that I did is amazing. It's amazing that I'm still here. Yeah, but it was a cool journey. All right, so another thing, in the first hostel, still got that picture of that reception desk in there, and I don't know why is that so important, but that's so you used to go there all the time to get things. Your key for the thing, I don't know. Yeah, did you have to check in and check out every day? I don't know. You go through into the dormitories, right? And one of my main memories from that particular dormitory was there was this giant grizzly bear man who was really hairy, really fat, and he's just basically like a big haggis, just a giant fat breathing haggis. Um, yeah, and so it's just a beast. I call him this giant beast man, and snored so badly. Oh god, it's just like a sleeping, snoring giant grizzly bear. Oh, so loud, like so hard to get to sleep. And it was in a dormitory, and there were other people around. And there's just this one giant guy on his fucking bed. And I don't know if I told him to shut up or what, but that was annoying. That was very difficult to sleep. So that was another part of the adventure, I suppose. What else happened in that particular one? Not much. I suppose I talked to a few people a bit. Yeah. I remember saying to that ginger guy, uh, the reason I think that I go on these stupid adventures is so that I can tell the stories about going on these stupid adventures. The only reason I do these stupid things is so that I can end up telling the story about the stupid things I've done. Which is quite wise, because that's exactly what I'm doing now, isn't it? But I remember that quite vividly, saying that to him. I was like, the only reason that I do these strange things is so that I can tell the story later of the strange things that I have done. Yeah. Okay. Where have we got to? So there must be some other things that happened in that first thing. I remember going back there, I think, with a friend of mine from one of the other hostels from later on. I went back to the first one to go to that comedy night again because he and I wanted to both watch the comedy thing. And I think that's maybe I did another gig there, potentially another gig there, which went better the second time, but still wasn't great. Yeah, but he liked it. My friend, two of my friends actually went, yeah. Yeah, you see, go to a different country and you make friends, but stay in the same country and your friends are a pile of bollocks, dicks. So hard to make friends in this country. Gosh, damn it. Yeah, because everyone's so obsessed about. You know what I feel about that. I feel that people are obsessed with their own preoccupations and they're not open to other people around them. And they seem to think that strangers are strange, whereas they're really not. There's nothing really to be afraid of other people. And if there is, it's because everyone else is afraid. And if you release all your fears of other people, then people stop being aggressive, because where does aggression come from? Fear and pain and hurt. And if you deal with your fear and pain and hurt, you become less aggressive. So there's no need to fear the pain or the hurt from others. Boom. Rock and roll. That should just write that whole bit down. All that, what I just said, write it down. It will serve the world. Maybe save the world. I can't remember what else happened in that first hostel. I don't think I stayed there for very long in that first one. I kind of feel like whoosh, that just went through quite quickly. Nothing much of interest happened there. Standing outside chatting to random people about not much in this little smoking area and feeling like I didn't really fit in anywhere, which feels pretty much how I feel at the moment in my life, actually, pretty much. Yeah. But so that was that first bit. And then there was definitely another one. I know there was jazz on Lennox. There was jazz on the city too, and I can't remember that one for note. Or maybe there was one of them that I didn't go to. I don't know. Well, we'll work with what I can remember, and then as other things pop up, then I'll include them as well. I mean, that's pretty much how this whole series has been working anyway. So, jazz on Lennox. I got there, and the reception bit is on a different side. So the reception bit of my memory for the other one is over here. The first one's over here, and then the jazz on Lennox is over there, right? That's weird because like I must have a certain position, like there must be a central locus of like localized point of gravity, a center of gravity to my experience in each hostel, because I see the reception always from that particular angle in my mind. Like I see there it is, it's over there on that one. Yeah, and I have to turn to it now to reimagine that bit, and it's like I'm there now in a way. So there's a nice big reception bit, maybe a bell on there, I'm not sure. Computer over there in the corner. I believe there's keys and stuff on the wall. There's this one guy, Donald, a black guy on there, slightly chipped tooth in the front, gay guy, short black curly hair, camp, and yeah. So there, he was one of the main people on the reception desk, and he was weird. He like he seemed to be moody all the time. I suppose he was never quite happy to see me. Don't think he was happy to see anyone. Bit of a frumpy sort of person, but he was one of the main guys on there. I can't remember any of the other ones by name off the top of my head. I remember the general appearance of the manager. She was white, American, kind of pretty, not that pretty though. Wide hips. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I'm just remembering it for myself. Yeah, so she was nice. And then there was a little waiting area bit. As you first come in, there's this little window ledge bit with a couple of chairs, and then there's the reception desk there. Okay, and then you go in a bit. Well, I suppose it'd be this way then, wouldn't it? You go a bit further in, and there's like this computer bit, like computer bits along there, and then there's the TV where everyone was always watching sport pretty much, and then a few chairs dotted around. So you guess that you call that the common room. There's a little stairway bit that would take you up to the first level of rooms, and then there was an opening to the kitchen bit, which is over there, with your little stove over there, over there, and then your sink over there. Pots and pans and shit lying around everywhere. Microwave. I think there's a microwave. Yeah. And ledge. And then you've got these racks for where you can stick food and bags of food and stuff. And then you had a fridge as well. Yeah. Okay. That's jazz on Lennox. And then the outside bit. So you got the reception bit again. Whoops. Go down there and continue on through past the computer bits, past the TV. There's a door at the end, and that takes you out into the garden, which is just like this kind of pavement stuff with some benches like lying around there, little tree. And then the luggage room. The luggage room was the central focus of the garden. Garden, yeah. Luggage room. Luggage. So you put your luggage in the luggage room. And you have to get like a member of staff to come with you to access the luggage room so you can get things in and out of it. And when I arrived, my friend, well, he later became my friend, but the person who was there was painting the outside of the luggage room with a picture of a city which looked pretty much exactly like what was outside of the thing outside of the hostel. So you come in to see a picture of like where you've just come from. It was weird. So it's like he painted the luggage room with tall buildings and like doors and the little kind of grocery stands and things like this. It's like, why? You should have. Why do you? We don't want to come in to an urban landscape where everything is grey and dull and pavementy to just meet a picture of grey and dull and pavementy. Like, why? You should have come up with some kind of cool graffiti idea, man. I just think that was silly because it was like, why have you done? You made a grey wall. You've painted it grey. You've painted a grey wall with a grey wall over it, like with lots of grey walls. It's just okay, fine. That was weird. But it was good. So he was doing that to begin with. Just like that was the first thing I knew of him, was painting this mural of the city on a part of the city, which is weird. Yeah. And so I spent a lot of my time in Jazz on Lennox in that little garden bit, like sitting on a bench doing this. People watching, sitting on a chair doing this. People watching, listening to the sounds, meditating, eyes open meditations. Just mainly just being in an observant state. So just kind of being there, watching what's going on, talking to people as they come along. You know, it was good. Spent a lot of time in that little garden bit. And it was summer-ish when I went there. It was quite warm. I ended up buying a guitar, 2 guitars actually, an electric one and an acoustic one. And there are stories around all these things because Anthony told me about these particular guitars. Dan Electros, I think it was the guitars he was on about, or the amps. The guitars, they were amazing because he was into his guitars and stuff, and we went to various different guitar shops together because we were both into guitars and music and stuff. And yeah, he was a good friend. He wore a little bandana, red bandana. He had a little chinny beard thing, like a sort of stripe, one stripe beard type of thing. Glasses. Had this signature laugh, which was like this. If I can do it. You used to start with a. So the beginning of his laugh was always a like that, a big old. um, and I noticed that the end of his laugh changed and seemed to evolve over a period of time. Like we used to go like that, and then it would go. Yeah. So, and then there was another one where it's like. I'm obviously not quite doing it justice because I can't emulate his voice properly. But yeah, I was watching how people behaved and changed because my whole purpose, my whole purpose when I was out there, y'all, was to aid the spiritual development of mankind. Kind. Yeah, I was there on a spiritual mission, a healing mission. I was there to bring my consciousness to the other people there and to give them my full attention and to therefore render the service of consciousness to them and to observe the effect that consciousness and being a conscious presence, a witness, an attentive witness, an emotionally available witness in consciousness, to observe the positive effects that this has on the other people with whom I came into contact. Yeah. So I saw the little addition to the end of his laugh as being because I was paying attention to it. So he had gone through an evolution, which may or may not be the case. It may well be the case that because he had the listening attention of a consciousness other than his own, bearing upon his laugh, that he was therefore able to extend his laugh and enjoy his hilarity a little bit more. We don't know, but I thought it was because of me. Okay, there was another guy who was there, who was a gay guy as well, and he originally was all beefy towards me. He was like... He had a tanned kind of skin complexion, like olive skin, I suppose you call it. He looked like a leopard, like freckly leopard thing. Short, like afro-y kind of hair. I believe he was of mixed racial, ethnic composition, origin. I don't know. He was I don't know the technical terms. Mixed race. He was a mixed race person, and he was, and it also gay. Did I mention he was also gay? Lot of homosexuals lying around in there. There were, but he was like originally like to me like, you know, like no, just like just be like you know, about me, like like about me, like whatever it was some kind of like rejecting critical comment that I wasn't obviously I wasn't a valid human. I wasn't a valid expression of humanity. You know, that was it from him. And then, because of the attentive warmth of the conscious presence that I gave to him over a period of time, towards the end, he was loving it. He was loving it. He was all friendly and warm, and we had a chat, and it was all good because I was of the accepting nature. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. I don't think I can say everything about this place because I'll just carry on forever. 48 minutes. Well, we've got to the hostel, people. We've got to the hostel. We're in the garden. There's Anthony painting the wall of the thing in the cityscape. But not cityscape, like not a skyline. It was like just a drab, the fronts of buildings. Okay. And so the rooms in the hostel. So I was in like various different dormitories throughout the time that I stayed there. I stayed there in that particular one for about 2 months, I think, and then I had to like spend some time in other ones here and there because of the whole. I think it was like 28 days rule that you're only allowed 28 days, not 14 days. But you had to like go to somewhere else and then if you wanted to come back, you had to have a break of 2 days or break of a day or something somewhere else. So I went to stay in another one. Um, yeah, and you know what? I'm not even going to try and cover everything about that particular hostel because that really makes up the bulk of my trip to America. The people I met in the hostel there, and what we did or didn't do in that hostel there. The conversations I had with the people, the different types of people who were there, um, and and then the subsequent adventures that took place because of the people I'd met there. So I went off to Baton Rouge, and what's the other place nearby to that called a big place? Oh man, I'm gonna kick myself. It wasn't LA? Oh no, no. Oh, come on, man. New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans, right? I went off to those two places as a result of two different people I'd met in the hostel, and I spent a significant period of time there as well in those two different places. So, la, yeah, all right, okay. Ah, there's the hostel. That's one of my favourite parts of the whole of my life, I suppose. Maybe. But it was definitely an adventure. Oh, so many memories suddenly coming back to me. I used to go to Starbucks in America there as well. And that was something I continued afterwards when I got back to England to go to Starbucks. And it seems that going to Starbucks and writing and drawing things has been something I've always done. Or go to a coffee shop. That's something I've always done. Wherever I am, wherever I will go, a coffee shop. Surely there will be a flow of those. Those. Yeah. I want to try and wind down now because I feel like if I keep giving out too much information about this particular topic, I won't be able to wind down. I need to kind of like wind it down now, wind it down. So let's just repeat what we have got so far. First hostel, the main thing about that was a terrible gig and then a good gig. But maybe there wasn't even a second gig. I don't know. My memory is so bad. There was this one comedian guy who he used to tell really crappy, really terrible, cheesy joke, like a dad joke style thing. And I swear the only people. Oh, I said that sentence wrong. I swear the only reason that people were laughing was because after every joke he made, he would do this same cheesy smile. So he'd go blah 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 blah, and people would only laugh at the smile part. The jokes were terrible. And then you go blah 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 blah, and then people would laugh, and then you go blah 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 blah. And it was always a little smiley laugh bit that was just irresistible. Like even though the joke was terrible, like it was just this infectious, stupid little, happy little fucking smug smile. Like the smile when someone is in love with their own ridiculousness. Yeah. Present company accepted. Yeah, so that was that. So terrible gig. Guy nicking my passport and then returning it. Whew. What else? Don't call anyone big guy in America because they're saying, don't call me that. What else? Oh, the giant beast. The hairy, breathing beast. The snoring giant beast. I never saw his face because it's just this giant. I just see him as this giant, massive shoulders, basically, because a hairy back must have just not been wearing anything, I suppose. And he had like the sheet over him, and it was just a big breathing thing, big breathing, snoring, loud, really loud, like I mentioned it. I can remember him now. I can remember him now for how fucking loud he was. Literally, really loud. It was really like. And I was like, "This, you cannot be serious. It's not a human-made sound." Oh, basically living with a bear. Ah, and it was in a dormitory. That was a mixed dormitory, actually, I think, as well. I do remember saying to someone or other, like, "Oh, fucking, what about the bear guy, eh? The giant sneezing, snoring bear." Fuck that. Oh, that was rough. Man, it was so hard to sleep. Oh. Oh yeah, and the book guys, the book selling trampy hobo guys were like pulling this trolley, not trolley, just like a kind of cart thing, selling the books and asking. They were terrible books as well. I don't know if they ever sold any, but looking scruffy and then having an argument to themselves. Okay. Oh, and the girl who I met on the train who had the Dao Te Ching, who I will later go and see her again, and we'll talk about that in more detail on next, on a further session down the road. So we've set the scene for a few things. I've got lots of different things about that I could say about this particular hostel. And yeah, so we've got the kitchen with the fridge. Must have had a fridge. I don't really remember the fridge that well. The sink I remember was just basically this metal basin thing on stilts. Yeah. And that also had a door from the kitchen that led out into the little garden bit. So the common room and the kitchen were next to each other and both could lead out onto the garden where the luggage room was in. And I swear there's like some kind of mishap that happened regarding the luggage room. But I'll come to that later if it does come up. And then Donald, who was the moody guy. Yeah. Anthony, who was the painting guy. Oh. And then the guy who was all like, me. Me. Him. Yeah. Sitting about on the chairs in the garden room, listening to the sounds, wondering what the fuck I was doing there. Yeah. I'm smiling, but I feel like I could just cry instead of smiling. Yeah. Like, in a way, I was totally found there. That was where I was supposed to be. And in another way, I was completely lost as well. Like, why the fuck am I there? I was on this adventure which had no like defined purpose. It didn't have a defined linear narrative to it. Like it didn't have a kind of right point A to point B to point C. It didn't have an itinerary other than the hostels that I'd pre-booked. You know, it didn't have any specific goals to it whatsoever other than to just be there and to go with the flow basically. So like other people who went there had gone there and they had like itineraries and they were going to do certain things and they were going to like, for example, people from other places in America who were visiting there had come to try and find a job, or they'd come to the hostel, stayed in the hostel, and ended up working in the hostel. And then there were sightseers who'd come from different countries to just explore New York. And there was me who was like, I'm here on a spiritual mission to bring consciousness to the world, basically, and to be conscious and present while I'm in a different place, and to find, I don't know, a further purpose to life just by being here. Yeah, I was basically there for the non-adventure adventure, like not specific, no plan. Start from sitting in a chair. I even remember writing like thinking of these sort of steps. Step 1, learn to sit. Step 2, learn to stand. Step 3, learn to walk. Step 4, learn to run. And I spent most of my time on the step 1, which was learn to sit. And I was just sitting, basically, observing, responding, being available, doing the thing that felt right. Yeah. Okay, well, we're coming to the end of the video, so may as well just end it now. Oh, New York, New York, New York, New York, New York.